ever.
That was cool, man. Anyway, hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Andertons TV. And my special guest today is Andy James.
Right, how's it going?
Yeah, it's cool that you've come by. We bumped into each other at the NAMM show.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
You are a face and a name that I've seen on YouTube a few times, and I've followed some of your artist endorsements and stuff like that. But we've never really met.
No.
Like...
I mean, I've seen your stuff on like YouTube quite a lot, and thought, wow, because when I walked in here, I said to Pete, is it?
Yeah.
Right, I'm glad I got that right. Because obviously when you see all this, it's like this is all you see on the YouTube bit, but then you don't see the bit behind the camera where it's like...
The messy bit.
Yeah, because I was saying the same with Lit Library, like you'd always see the sort of like neat bit where you film and that, and then it's always like just a complete mess like behind the camera.
Well...
So.
I thought we'd invite Andy in. This isn't, Andy's got some cool gear that we can kind of talk about, but I'm mainly always interested in, how guys like you got into the guitar, and we can talk about, who influenced you and technique. And again, I think people will, I think, find good to relate to you is you're going to talk about what it's like to try and make a living, being basically like a hard-working guitar player, but that hasn't necessarily, isn't in like it's not all served up on a plate for you, is it? You're not, you're not touring and like with managers that are just going, right, here's everything you need. So, but let's go back. Where did it all, what sort of environment did you grow up in, and how did the sort of guitar thing come about?
I grew up not far down the road actually, because I was born in Portsmouth.
Okay.
So I lived there for like most of my life, and then yeah, it wasn't really until I sort of moved to. I went to school in Brighton for a couple of years, and I was kind of into Guns N' Roses and that. And like my 12th birthday, and I've been playing guitar because the school that I was at, they had like these music rooms and stuff where there was like in every room there was like an old beat up piano or a guitar and that. So I used to just go in and just sort of bash around on the guitar. Kind of made sense to me, and I was sort of doing piano and that as well. So I guess like musically, I'd always just found it interesting if there was an instrument lying around just to have a go on it, sort of thing. But yeah, I got into the guitar a little bit, and then like my 12th birthday, I asked my dad for a guitar, and we went to music shop in Brighton. I don't know if it's still there, but. It was like this old backstreet kind of shop thing.
Cool.
It was almost like...
called Tiger Music, was it?
Oh,
was it called Tiger Music?
It just reminds me of Gremlins, when he goes to that thing and he buys that weird thing.
I thought you meant... Because isn't there a music store in Brighton called Gremlin Music as well? But you mean Gremlins the film where they go in, the old sort of Aladdin's Cave. They kind of... There's a certain... I think, if you've been playing guitar for like 30 or 40 years now, it's still fun to go into those Aladdin caves and put up with the grumpy, miserable bloke behind the counter and get told that you can't. And then you sort of... But yeah, I think for new players, it's unbelievably intimidating to go into places like that, isn't it? But,
yeah.
But so you went in with your dad. What did you come out with?
There was like a Rockwood Squire Strat and a Starfire amp. I think it had like 2 knobs on it. It could barely do distortion, but it was kind of enough for what I was trying to do. And then I literally just never put the thing down, honestly.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of...
Were you getting lessons or trying to teach yourself?
No, I had a couple of lessons, but I was the same with lessons in music as I was in everything else. Like, I never paid attention at school because I just wasn't really interested in it. But I tried to have a couple of lessons, and I was just so impatient. I just wanted to learn the thing that I wanted to learn. Mm-hmm. And when you go for lessons, obviously they've got like a set thing that they kind of, need to teach you in order to sort of get the fundamentals right in your head. So, like here's a pentatonic scale, here's the blues version of that sort of thing. And I think that's probably the only thing I learned in the lessons. And then after that, I kind of stopped going because it was a bit of a drive for me dad, and I suppose it was like a money thing as well. Mm-hmm. I was having piano lessons at the time as well, but I'd just get home from piano lessons and pick up the guitar. Yeah. And I wouldn't even bother. So every time I went back, it was like, "Have you learnt this?" It's like, well, no.
But I have learnt this.
My guitar, I could. Yeah, I've learnt this sort of thing. But that was that. So I know. Fast forward probably about 4 years or whatever, and I guess I stuck at it enough for my dad to then get a sort of a next step up guitar kind of thing, which was like an Epiphone Les Paul Studio. It wasn't a huge amount of money. It was probably like 400 quid. But then I was like.
Yeah, that's cool.
Being a big Slash fan and stuff, I was kind of like, I had a guitar that resembled that sort of thing. So I had that for a while. Went to college.
Did you study music at college at all?
No, I studied the art of dossing for like a couple of years, and I just used to do way more playing and just hanging out with friends than actual work.
Were you in a band by this time, or?
Well, yeah, I formed a band with a few mates that a few people that became mates there, a singer and a drummer. And the singer had his best mate at the time was a bass player, and so we started up a cover band and just started doing pubs and that. And then we stayed working together for probably about 10 years, I reckon, doing like cover bands and stuff like that. We changed drummers and got a new bass player. And then, yeah, you know, it was just a bit of fun, but I kind of, because I was working in an insurance job at the time, doing that every weekend, and it was cool, but I just felt like I wasn't really doing the thing that I wanted to do, even though I probably made more money then than I do now. But yeah, it was cool to sort of like do it. But then you play the same things, and then, you know, I started dabbling in just writing some instrumental stuff, and I was very involved in like forums and stuff. Like around that time, I think the John Petrucci forum was quite a sort of hotbed of like, you know, people that weren't really known then, but now, like some of them, you know, like Martin Miller or Tom Quayle or Misha Mansour from Periphery, you know, all them guys were kind of in the same sort of hub posting videos. I was going to say,
so who was it? Because I mean, as much of a guitar hero as Slash is, he's not really held up as a kind of as a guy that I would naturally think had inspired you to play. You know, there's a much more technical, almost neoclassical kind of thing going on there. I mean, so who after sort of Slash do you think you kind of started to get into, and you're thinking, oh, hang on, these are the guys that are really I want to try and emulate?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I always feel with me, like I mean, you know, people obviously assume that I'm, you know, kind of like technique, and that's always been my influence kind of thing. But I always think of myself as kind of somebody that does that kind of thing, but it's a little bit kind of rough. I've always kind of liked guys like Slash for that, because although I actually think that he's a great player and kind of he's rated obviously because he's one of the most famous guitar players, but I actually think he's hugely underrated for certain things that he's not maybe given credit for.
I think I've always had a thing that for me, as to be regarded as just like completely top of the tree, it's not about how fast you can play or technique. It's got to be that you can hear that person can pick up a guitar, do a guest solo on someone else's album or somewhere, and you can go, that's such and such.
Yeah.
And I honestly do believe that you sit there going, B.B. King, Eric Clapton, Dave Gilmour, Slash, maybe Stevie Ray, and then you really start running out, you know, you start going, who
Zach
else
Wild,
could you...
maybe I'd probably throw into
I
that.
suppose if you... Yeah, probably. That's true. You know, it's not a big list, is it, of people where you could go, if it was just literally asked to solo on an album and I didn't know who it was and I just had to tell you who that guitar player was from the solo.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a big list. And Slash is definitely on it.
Yeah, I would say
but
so.
Anyway, but you were saying, I'm sorry, you were going to sort of say what other guitar players...
Oh, right, yeah. Well, I mean, I got given like a Joe Satriani Surfing with the Alien, but it was a record. I mean, I was kind of growing up with tapes and stuff, so record had already sort of died out at that point. But there was a record player, and I sort of played it, listened to it, and I was kind of thinking, this is really weird. Like, it sounds like nothing I've ever heard before, kind of thing. And I was thinking, I don't even know how I'd learn about, you know, I tried to jam along with it and stuff like that. I was thinking, this just doesn't sound like a guitar. And I realised, because you've got like 2 different speed things on a record player, that it was.
So which one was it? Too slow or too fast?
No, it was on too fast.
So too fast, and the guy's literally going.
So when I kind of finally
that explains
figured that
everything.
Out, well, no, yeah, but when I obviously turned that off and listened to it properly, it sounded weird at first, like it had been slowed down, but then it was kind of normal.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, yeah, I've got probably a better shot at trying to learn this now, because then when I was playing the guitar, I was hitting some notes that were the same as the record. So yeah, that was cool. So stuff like Surfing with the Alien and trying to learn things like Crushing Day, and that was, you know, because I always went for the more technical thing, because that's probably the hardest song on that. Probably he's ever written, actually, I would say. I mean, even by his own admission. But
what drives that? You know, what motivates you to, you know, want to try and learn the most technically difficult song on an? Is that just?
I think when you're younger, like, you don't really pay attention to the fact that music is supposed to be like music. Yeah, I think you kind of look at it and go, it's more of an achievement sort of thing. And plus the fact it was a little bit of like a social acceptance thing for me as well, because like a lot of kids that I knew didn't play any instruments at all. So like, you know, me doing that kind of gave me a little bit of credibility, I suppose, because I never really sort of sat in with I wasn't really a cool kid and I wasn't really a nerd either. I was sort of, you know, up the middle kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, it was sort of my thing that I could do around the sort of network of friends that I had at the time, I suppose. And you know, as soon as they kind of found out about it, and you could just play something like, you know, they'd be like, "Wow, you know, that sounds awesome." So yeah, you didn't have to kind of be able to do anything that cool. But then I don't know, it's my own thing, because I'm quite sort of OCD and obsessed with certain things. Like if I really want to learn something, I'll just constantly like play it, you know, rewind or anything. It doesn't have to be music.
Do you think is that like just a natural, slightly obsessive about things?
I think so, yeah. But it's like, it's equally as counterproductive with things that I don't want to do.
Right.
So if I really don't want to do something, then I would literally go out of my way to try and make it so that I don't have to do it.
I think that's the thread that I'm, you know, in the last few years that people often say, you know, do you think people are just born to be able to be a good guitar player or not a good guitar player and all this kind of stuff? And I'm like, I don't think they are. I don't think someone's physically born. I think you're born with a slightly obsessive streak that says a determination. So I think there are people who will go, I'm going to pick the guitar up when I'm 10 or 12 years old, whatever, and I'm just going to dedicate 8-10 hours a day to it. And there's other people that haven't got that. I don't know. I think potentially I guess some people inevitably must be born with a creative streak who can then take that ability and go and write a great song. That I think is more innate. But no, it's interesting. So look, how long you're doing this insurance job? You're sort of, you know, bored to tears doing it. What was the point at which you just went, I'm going to do this guitar thing?
Well, I think one day I'd saw like because like every lunch hour I'd just go out, get a sandwich, and then get like a guitar magazine or whatever. For that month, I think it was like Total Guitar or something. They had like an advert, and it was an Ernie Ball sponsored Guitar Hero competition thing, and it was like, you know, submit. Or no, go down. We got like heats and stuff. It was all in Birmingham, and I lived in Norwich at the time, so it was a bit of a drive. But yeah, I just went down, just went in, played a song that I'd written. I think I'd already put an album together at that point anyway, and I just played one of the songs off of that.
Can you remember what it was? Do you want to give us a little bit of it?
Oh God, no! I can't honestly. I can't even remember. I haven't listened to that album since I probably stopped doing the trade shows in the UK. It's probably around 2007 or something. So yeah, we're going back nearly 10 years. I don't know. I think it was a track called Free Fall. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I can't. I'm not going to.
Not you're going to go there. Oh, well, I tried.
trying to learn it. Yeah, but I went in and sort of did it, and they were like, oh yeah, you know, they kind of stopped me halfway through, did the whole kind of Simon Cowell thing like this, and then and actually it was the first year that X Factor started, so it was kind of, I don't know why I remember that, but it was, I did it, they went, yeah, thanks very much, blah, 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 and that was it, and then I left, and then I get a phone call from this mad Scottish geezer, I can't remember his name now, and he was like, we want to invite you back for another sort of heat thing.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So yeah, I went back a few times, did it or whatever, and then got into the live show thing at the end of it, and then you know, they kind of pit up all the people like against each other, and then.
Was there anyone else you remember, like who's gone on to be
well
known
there was
as
a
well?
kid called James Bird, who he's in a band. They got. I think I don't know if he sings and plays guitar, but recently he sent me some of his band stuff because he's not much older now, and I remember it sounding pretty
really
awesome. Good. Yeah. So, but he was like probably 12 at the time.
Oh wow!
So he was like, you know, kind of mini Zakk Wylde sort of thing. He had the guitar and everything, and that's it. But yeah, they had like individual categories and then like an overall winner. So like all the individual categories had been sort of said, oh, you know, whoever's won and then they win this kind of thing, and it was getting to the end, I was kind of like, well, I didn't even get anywhere, like, you know, because first, second and third on each of the things, so I was kind of just getting ready to go at that point. I was like, well, I think I've probably just humiliated myself enough, so I'm going to go back to my job on Monday sort of thing. And then as we were leaving, they announced the overall winner, and I heard my name and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I won like an Ernie Ball guitar and that, and that's when I met Jamie Humphries, who he worked for Lick Library, and I think it was soon after that I just went to one of the trade shows and they let me get up on their stand and jam and stuff, and you know, I got a bit of a crowd and that kind of thing, and they were like, look, you know, if you want to do more of this stuff for us, then, you know, we'd be happy for you to sort of just turn up. I mean, we're not going to pay you or anything.
Oh. The classic.
But no, it was cool.
Yeah, if you just want to work for free, the classic life of a musician. Just say no. Say no, I'm not working for free. It's like, it's taken me 10 years to learn how to play this thing. You can at least pay me something to be here.
I think, I mean, I haven't really got like a club. I mean, it was just awesome to sort of be there and, you know, maybe get a guitar out of it. They were like, well, you know, we could maybe sort you a guitar out. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, and then one day the phone goes and it's Jamie, and he says, oh, you know, I might have a job for you. Because at this point I'd quit my job anyway because I didn't want to do it anymore. I was just teaching like local kids and stuff. And he said, yeah, I've got someone who wants to, you know, speak to you. So he puts the guy on. The guy was Kim Waller, who's like one of the partners for the library. And he was just sort of saying, yeah, you know, how would you fancy coming down and doing some, you know, filming, you know, see how you get on, you know, blah, 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 because, you know, we need someone to do the slightly more technical kind of metal thing, and, you know, Jamie recommended you sort of thing. So yeah, I went down. The first lesson I did was Get the Funk Out by Extreme, which I've actually recently, I've been to see Extreme and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I played that wrong, but yeah, I mean, I kind of, in those sort of scenarios, doing that kind of thing, I mean, unless you're the person doing it, there's always going to be like the odd note maybe here and there that just ain't what they're doing, which is fine. But I think, to be honest with you, with a lot of them lessons, like if you get the kind of gist of it and you can see kind of what's going on, I mean, you're better off just doing your own thing with it anyway, rather than playing everything exactly note for note. Yeah. And that's my excuse, and that's what I always tell people. It's like, yeah, I played it a little bit wrong. The funniest of which actually was when I met Padge from Bullet about 6 years ago at Frankfurt, and he'd seen a bunch of the lessons, and that was the first thing he said to me was, yeah, it's all wrong. You've played it like completely wrong. And I'm like, oh shit.
I think that I hear that a lot though, but again, it's just, I think that's why when you actually see the person that wrote the piece, even if it's a relatively simple piece like that, or, you know, or obviously perhaps more apparent when it's very technical, you always go, oh yeah, you can tell that's the guy that did it, as opposed to someone that's tried, because as you say, whether it's a note or a feel or whatever, but there's something, isn't there, about it? But I remember this won't really appeal to anybody that likes the sort of music that you're probably playing, but seeing, we had Larry Carlton for actually, I don't think we did a video, but we did like a clinic with him in the evening, and Larry Carlton played this fairly simple guitar part off of a Steely Dan album that he'd a track that he'd recorded on, and it was that same moment. It was just like everyone else in the audience is probably capable of playing those notes.
Yeah.
But no one's going to sound the way he sounded exactly the same as it was on the record. It's just weird like that, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
I mean that's kind of the problem you face with doing that kind of thing. I mean that's pretty much how I learned like a lot of stuff in the early days was like, you know, just listening to the tapes and stuff like that, and you know, like a lot of the tab books, especially that extreme one. I don't know if you've ever seen like the original Pornography 2 tab book, but all of it is completely wrong. Like none of it is even
really?
close.
Even though it's a licensed.
Yeah, no, like, because the thing is, like, some of those licks where, you know, it's quite obviously sort of major string skipped arpeggio or whatever, they've done in some weird fingering that just would be impossible for anybody to try and play that, let alone it was never played like that in the first place, do you know what I mean? So
Give us, give us a sort of a, you know, during this, I know this isn't necessarily following the sort of timeline we've been talking about, but what is a practice kind of regime for you? You know, when you're approaching going, I'm going to try and learn this, or I'm just going to try and stay kind of, you know, guitar player wise in shape. What sort of stuff are you doing?
It's normally kind of just like small drills and stuff. So like it'll just be, I don't know, if I'm practicing like 2-note string picking, it'll just be something like you know, that, and just kind of keep playing that over and over and over. I mean, I didn't know how to do anything like that even probably until about, I don't know, 5 years ago or something. Because like, I was sitting here with Josh earlier actually, because he was doing this pentatonic thing, but like most people would hit that with a downstrum. When I start to get fast, I just can't seem to like get it to work for some reason. But like with the upstroke, you know, it just seems to work a little bit better for me.
Yeah.
Like you probably just take like simple patterns, because like most of the runs that I do, like picking and stuff, it's the same but on every string. So you'd have like. Just sit there and kind of just drill stuff like that, kind of old Paul Gilbert exercises, and you know, maybe sort of practice picking, like string skipping and stuff like that. Anything that just sort of...
You just start slow and build it up and build it up.
Well,
and build it up,
I mean that's kind of what you're supposed to teach, but for me personally, the way I did it was I threw myself in at the deep end to the point where it just all sounded like shit, and then I just spent years trying to clean it up. So I kind of went like the other way, but I mean that's just my impatient thing, because I always wanted to just be able to like do it. You know, not like there and then sort of thing. But
so we're back in the we've done the trade show thing, the lick library thing, and I mean I'm guessing you're still nowhere near making a living out of it at this point or other, are you?
Well,
just about maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, without going into sort of like actual figures and stuff, I mean, like, you know, the lick library thing, it was great for, you know, like the YouTube thing, it was just kind of taking off really, I suppose. I mean, it had been around a while, but, you know, like with the tuitional thing, I don't think there was a huge amount of that kind of thing. I mean, now it's like saturated. If you do a video, it'll get maybe 1,000 views in a day or something. I mean, I don't know, I think yours probably does way better, but like, I remember if you were kind of doing anything like that, like I did some home videos and stuff, and I always remember thinking that, you know, 10,000 views in a day was just ridiculous to me, like kind of thing, but I don't think I would get that many views in a day now, because it's just completely saturated with like loads of different things. But yeah, from the financial point of view, I was just doing like local lessons and stuff like that.
Right.
I was still doing, you know, the local gigs and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, the lick library thing, you know, was cool, because whenever I got a job in, you know, they pay pretty, you know, promptly and stuff like that. And, you know, you'd either get a royalty or you just get paid like a one-off thing for like the job and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, I can't really complain, like, because ever since I just quit that job, like when you become self-employed, like we were talking about it just before we started filming, like it almost means that if you've got no money coming in, then you're the only person that can sort that out. So you have to, it forces you to sort of like, you know, do different things and that. So I started trying to, you know, get more work with like Lick Library, you know, the DVDs, and I had a regular column with them as well, like Full Shred Head and stuff, which was just like, you know, different techniques and stuff. So there was always like things to be done. It would never be like I'd wait for the phone to ring. Sometimes I'd ring them and go, look, you know, shall I come down and do something? He'd be like, yeah, okay, we'll, you know, fit you in, kind of thing. So it's pretty cool. But then I suppose the difficulty happened was when I started getting offers from like other like teaching websites and stuff like that. And obviously there's a little bit of an exclusivity thing where you're just doing the one thing.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like I could continue just doing the one thing and carry on like that. But you know, I suppose with any job you want to try and, you know, progress and move on and do that kind of thing. And you know, some of the offers that were coming in were, I couldn't really ignore them, you know, like for the sake of just being loyal. So, you know, at the end of the day, you kind of still have to think financially, you know. So, you know, I went off and did a bunch of other stuff. Like I went and did Jam Play, I did some stuff for them. Jam Track Central, I kind of started doing a lot more stuff for them. And then...
That was always a good, that is a good operation. I think that Jam Track Central, they got that really high production quality. It's some good artists on there. It's well run,
Jan's very like,
you
know, sort of pro, everything's got a look, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of awesome. I mean, even in the beginning when it was just like one camera in his old house studio kind of thing with the Guthrie, Larry Carlton video and all that. I mean, it's come a long way since then, but...
It was, even then though, I still remember it being as good as any, you know, probably better than anything else that was being done at the time. But anyway, that's cool. So it's got to be round about now, and I guess as you're becoming, your face is coming a little bit better known. Is that when the sort of the first endorsement offer kind of came along, or how did it? Because was it ESP? Was that the first one?
Pretty much. I mean, after you know, doing like the Ernie Ball thing for a bit. And then they fired me for some unknown reason. I don't know. I never found out, so I don't know. But yeah, I think I was just young and I was probably drunk and said something I shouldn't have done. But
we've all been there.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it kind of all fell apart. So at that point, I found myself without a guitar or a guitar company. And then I started playing in this band, Sacred Mother Tongue. And the guy who was producing the band, Scott, he was in like a band called Stamping Ground. He'd done a lot of stuff with, you know, Andy Sneap, like recording and stuff, and he'd set up and started doing bands on his own. So, you know, we ended up doing a couple of recordings just to see how we would get on. And I had the John Petrucci guitar. I think I had the D Sonic and the Air Norton combination in that particular guitar at the time. And he was kind of like, yeah, it sounds good, but, you know, it could be way better. I think because he'd probably done a lot of work with like EMGs and stuff, just the way they track the DIs and how kind of more like balanced they are as a sort of, because I mean they do have a slight compression, so it does even out the signal quite a bit, so I suppose it's better for, you know, recording, especially with DIs and stuff. But he's kind of like, yeah, have you ever considered, you know, playing like ESP or whatever? And I was like, not really, but I'll give it a go, you know, see. So he put me in touch with, I think it was Kelly from Select.
Kelly Downs.
Yeah.
Still, I spoke to Kelly probably literally yesterday.
Oh, did you?
So, yes, very nice chap.
Yeah, very nice geezer. Yeah, he put me in touch with him, and I mean, he didn't like, you know, they didn't give me, because he's a distributor, he's not actually part of the ESP thing anyway, but he gave me a really good deal on a guitar. I did have one slightly before that, which I realised the EMGs were going to work out better for me, because when you're a single guitar player in a band, I don't know, there's just something about plugging into an EMG guitar that just gives you that impression that there's two guitar players in the room.
I'm loving your fight in the corner of the EMG thing. There's so much EMG hate normally on YouTube.
No, I know, but it changed. The EMG pickups literally changed my perception of like live sound and stuff. I mean, I was literally having this conversation with as a producer friend that I know, Lassie Lemert, the German guy. Okay. He's been doing some videos recently, and he put one up about EMGs and that, and there was a lot of hate in that. And I just posted up a comment saying, basically, there's this thing that everybody seems to forget with gear, guitars, pedals, picks. It doesn't matter. You put shit in, you're going to get shit out. And that is literally it. Like, people having a go at EMGs going, oh, they're lifeless, this, that, and the other. It's probably because the playing is lifeless of whoever's
controversial.
I mean, it normally is. Like, people buy gear because they think for some reason it's gonna, I don't know, make them sound better. But it will.
That's true. This is the myth we must continue to. Absolutely.
I mean, you could have like a 10 grand guitar, but like, I don't know, if you've been playing 2 weeks, it's not going to sound like a 10 grand guitar. You know what I mean?
Well, this is true. This is true.
You know, I mean, I'm not like naming any names, or like, I'm just kind of
do you know
playing
what?
up to the controversy of it. You know?
I think what my 8th year, I think this is the 8th year of doing YouTube videos, has done to me is it has made me, at every step of the way, unpick all the preconceptions I have about every feature possible of a guitar.
Yeah.
Where at some point in that first, 20 odd years of playing before I did the YouTube videos, I would have read somewhere or been influenced by something or had a bad experience with a feature.
Yeah.
A type of pickup, a type of neck, a type of body or whatever. And I built this picture in my mind of like features I don't like and features that I do like. And the EMG pickups would definitely have been in the feature I don't like category.
But see,
for whatever
that's
reason.
fine, because like, I mean, obviously, what I've just said, it's like, well, what about personal opinion? Which is totally fine, because if you really don't like something, then fine. You don't have to like it. But it's the fundamental thing of like going, they sound shit, they make your playing this, is kind of like, well, I have a little bit of an issue with that, because it's like, they will replicate whatever you put into it.
Yeah.
So, but if you don't like how it represents your kind of playing, I suppose, then that's fine.
The last 8 years has been this journey of unpicking everything and realising that every guitar is its own unique combination of all those features.
Yeah.
And even though you might have tried 3 guitars and you consistently didn't like the pickups on those 3 guitars or whatever like that, so you form an opinion, but you might try a 4th guitar that will have those pickups on it, and you'll go, I really like this.
Yeah.
So I desperately try now to reserve judgment on whether or not I'm going to like something or not until I've actually played it.
Yeah.
And I am. We played a guitar. Pete and I played a guitar the other day with like a really vintage Radius fretboard on it.
Right.
And we were just like, we won't like this. We won't be able to bend the strings. It'll all be, we won't like anything like this. And we played this guitar and we just went, it doesn't feel any different to like half the other guitars we play, and it was a really nice guitar.
Yeah.
So you just go, yet another preconception out the window, waste of time. So that's the advice. Just try everything, and if you like it, you like it, and if you don't, you don't, and everything's cool.
Well, actually, I mean, talking about that, Evertune thing, right? Yeah. So here's like a really quick video about Evertune, I suppose. Well, it's not a quick video because we're doing it.
That's cool.
But no, like, most people think that like the Evertune thing, they just bypass it because they go, oh, you can't bend with it, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't play guitar like normally. And it seems mad that someone would like spend ages creating something with the sort of engineering precision like the Evertune and not make it be able to play like a normal guitar.
Show them the back of that one, because you've got the back plate off on that one, haven't you?
So that's pretty much what it looks like.
There's way more to an Evertune system under the hood than there is on the front here.
Now, people will argue that it's a tone sucker. It does, it doesn't, because you're getting rid of all that wood and all the rest of it. I mean, this construction of this guitar is a sort of set neck through, so it's basically the neck comes to about here. So the front pickup directly mounts into the rest of the guitar, and then that just mounts into the body. And the sort of construction of this guitar does allow for a little bit of that tone that you may or may not lose. I mean, to be honest with you, it's pretty negligible.
It's just in case anybody, loads of you will know what Evertune is, but for those that don't, manufacturers for years have tried to kind of crack this idea of stopping a guitar going out of tune, and some brands have done it with software, where you're almost running like auto tune permanently through the guitar. Other brands, Gibson had the sort of robot machine heads and all this kind of stuff. Evertune it's bizarre. It's such a fantastic piece of mechanical engineering. Not saying that you should like it or not. I just mean the actual engineering is fantastic. Where there is a tension on the saddle where it compensates the tension on the saddle to compensate for a string either being too tight or too slack. So, literally as your string is going out of tune, the saddle is compensating to bring the string back into tune, all mechanically as well, no digital or anything like that. It's the most fascinating bit of engineering. But as you rightly say, if you can feel, it feels different to a regular hardtail, and some people will like it and some people won't.
It only feels a little bit different, but what I was going to say was, you basically put the string through the back.
Yeah.
I'm just going to it's going to take a while for it to go down.
But look how much Andy's like detuning this, and as fast as he's detuning it,
there you go. Right,
the bridge is compensating. Yeah.
So most normal guitars, right, you put it through, you just tune it up, and it'll go until it gets to pitch.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing applies to this. You have little fine tuners in there, so if it's not to pitch when it goes to where the machine head's not moving anymore, you just adjust that to be the pitch that you want. Right?
Yeah.
Now, there's like 2 zones that you can have this guitar in. You can have it in where you can't bend, which is odd. So you're still turning it, but like even in the middle, if you just turn it to where it does that. You know, you just get the note.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's so weird.
I mean, most people's experience of the Evertune is that, and then they just put it down and go no, and then they walk off without actually having any kind of like knowledge about how it actually works. Now you can set it like that if you're in a studio environment, which means that you can push down as hard on the strings, they don't go out of tune.
And you presumably, when you've got very low tunings, even that kind of when you're particularly, when you're hitting hard on your heavier sort of the bottom strings, and the note is naturally going wow, wow. You don't get that because
you can do it, but you have to set it in a certain way. But yeah, generally that's not wanted. Like so you can give the guitar a bit more attitude. But yeah, so in order to put it to where it needs to be for any normal guitar player playing that wants to be able to do all this stuff, you have to basically keep going. There we go.
Right.
So it goes up, and then you drop it down to the pitch. So literally, it's at the arse end of the pitch that it needs to be. So that would read a B on a tuner. So it's in, and then you can do all your kind of bending and all that sort of stuff. And if you set every string, you just tune it right up until it goes out and then back in again. It will stay perfectly in tune, but it will play like a normal guitar.
Have you gone like exclusively over to Evertune now?
I have, yeah.
Just
I mean,
everything.
because I do a lot of studio stuff, like at home, like recording different things and stuff like that. Like, I mean, even if you don't want to use it as a live thing, which personally I think it's way more beneficial to have something like this live, with all the heat and the lights and everything, so you can go up on stage in confidence and know your guitar's going to be banging. But every studio should have at least one guitar with an Evertune in, because you can restring the thing, and then until the strings die, you don't even have to look at the tuner. It's perfectly in, and the intonation's kind of sorted all up the neck.
I know when Evertune first came out, we set ourselves up as like an Evertune fitting centre,
right?
And it was just, I think it just becomes cost prohibitive, because it's such a big job to take a guitar that's not Evertune fitted and fit. So much routing, and then you've really got to say to the customer, we're taking so much wood out of this guitar. I'm not sure that what we're going to give you back is necessarily what you are used to having. So I think the idea now that there are so many more manufacturers factory fitting Evertune, so at least you can play it before you buy it and go, yeah, okay, I'm happy with this. That makes way more sense. And I know, actually, there's not that many brands doing it. ESP do a bit of factory fitted, don't they? I don't think Ibanez do anything that's...
I think ESP are probably the only
Jackson?
one, I think.
Well, lots of...
Oh, no, I don't know. Does Ola England's... Do they come solar ones? Does
solar,
he do?
Yeah.
Got a couple of models.
Has he? Yeah, I don't. But I don't.
He has. I don't know if I don't.
There is a standard Pro model that you can buy with it on.
Oh, is there?
I don't know what Ola's doing with when we when he first released that Ola was saying wasn't sure if it was going to sell through retail or whether it was just going to be a direct thing. So I've not seen a solar yet.
No, but I mean it's the same with Kiesel. Like they're completely custom shop. I mean, you can order anything you want. I mean, you can even get the Evertune now, because that was sort of one of the things, I suppose, Jeff wanted to offer it, but for some reason, like, didn't. But when we decided at NAMM that we were going to finally work together and stuff, that kind of bridged the gap between Kiesel and Evertune. So that was cool. But I mean, I personally think that it's one of the best inventions for the guitar since the guitar has, been in existence. I know there's a lot of people that have got some hate towards it or whatever, but I think it goes back to that preconception. People will they'll slag something off, even if they've heard someone in the pub go, "Well, fucking hell, the Evertune's right." I mean, I don't know who's slagging Evertunes off in the pub, but I mean,
tell us about Kiesel, because I'm conscious of the fact it's been another 5 minutes or whatever doing this, and then this is probably going to be like a epically long video. But tell us about Kiesel, and I know you mentioned a little bit about the spec of the guitar, but we never really got into how you first found them and what it is about the feel of it that you like and everything.
Well, I was on tour in Europe with Angel Vivaldi, and his guitar player, Jason, he plays Kiesel. He's got a Kiesel Aries. And he kindly let me have a go on it a couple of times, and I don't know, I really liked the feel of it, you know, it felt pretty nice. And that was sort of then sort of furthered by, I had a go on Chris Letchford's guitar when we did the tour with Scale the Summit in America. I mean, his is headless, and it's not really my kind of thing as a sort of aesthetic, but the guitar played really well. And actually, for a fan-fretted guitar, it felt like you weren't really playing fan frets, because it's only a very slight fan. It's not like the mental ones that you can normally get. And I don't know, yeah, and then I sort of really started to think about, I could get into this, you know, like I like the kind of way they build the guitars and stuff. I mean, the craftsmanship is amazing, and they're quick as well, which is a kind of another thing which is good for me. And also
quick to play,
quick to build.
Or quick to build.
I mean, these two guitars took less than 2 weeks to like build. But I think it's because, you know, we chatted at NAMM and he wanted to just put a guitar in my hand, so he kind of expressed them. I don't know if 2 weeks is really the kind of maximum weight for a custom build.
These you don't buy through shops like traditional guitars.
No,
so
you basically go on his, I think it's 858 guitars is the number, but if you're outside it's probably just a +1 and then that number. But yeah, and then you go on their website and you basically just pick and choose like from everything that they offer, and you just bung it into one thing and then dash your guitar, and then they build it and send it to you.
What if you don't like it when it turns up?
Then you're fucked.
There's a downside to everything, guys.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think you could probably just ship it back and they can change some bits, but I don't really know. I mean, I didn't really have that impression when I got the guitars. It played great, so. And
what have you gone with in the sense of this sort of mahogany body?
Yeah, these are both. I know more about this one because I actually spec this one out with a couple of things. This is mahogany body, and then it's swamp ash top. That's like the raw tone finish. I mean, I never bother with tone controls because I just do it. I just do it on the amp kind of thing. So yeah, one volume, and then I've gone back to a blade switch because I've had so many problems with toggles in the past. They bust on me like every day. It seems. So yeah, kind of just went back to that, and it's much nicer because it's always going to be in that direction. Yeah. Like you don't get it worked on and then someone's wound it that way and you've got to somehow bend your hand around and every time you want to change the pickups kind of thing. Locking tuners, which I think comes as standard anyway, so that was a sort of thing that was going to happen.
Ebony board, is that by those things?
That's an ebony board. I mean, rosewood's not a thing, which is kind of what I've been using, but it's like import tax or something. It's just like a problem.
It's endangered species, isn't it now? Rosewood, that's the problem. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I actually aesthetically I prefer ebony anyway because it's a bit darker and it kind of goes with the white a bit better. I mean, my only real stipulation with going over to Kiesel was I've got to use these and I want.
And what are
that's
these
what
then?
You wanted anyway.
Specifically, which ones are
these
they?
These EMGs are the 5766. I think they just called them the Metalworks now, but.
I thought they were actually the lower out. They're a little like lower output than the 85, 83 set, aren't they?
I don't know. Like it wasn't my first impression when I plugged them in. They felt like they had almost like a preamp switch in them. Like everything seemed. You could play with lower gain on the amp, and the guitar would be driving the amp harder with these.
Oh, well, I'm not an EMG aficionado. I must admit.
I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, you'd need Rob Turner in here to tell you the exact specifics.
There was a set that I don't know which came first, whether it was based on the James Hetfield set or whether the Hetfield set was based on something else. But there are a set of EMGs that have got this sort of brushed steel look.
The Hetfield ones.
Is it? And they are low. They're supposed to be more like a sort of PAF kind of dynamic vibe to them. Oh yes, let's not forget this because, of course.
Oh, but that actually wasn't a hint. I was just
No,
looking at
it is. That's a good hint because I said to Andy right at the beginning of this video, commercially, this is a fairly suicidal video for Andertons because we don't sell Kiesel and we don't sell the DV Mark thing like that. But hey, Andy went, but you do sell Dunlop plectrums, don't you, like that? And I went, we do. Yeah. So take it away, Andy James.
Oh, right. I didn't know I was supposed to be doing a pitch. I forgot my whiteboard.
100%. Tell us about the Andy James Prime Tone Plectrum from Dunlop.
Yeah, okay, right. So for the last 25 years or so, I've been playing guitar, and pretty much every other day I've picked up different picks. Ones that have played well yesterday don't necessarily play today. Maybe it's poor technique, it probably is. But yeah, I've had that ongoing throughout like my whole life. There's only been a couple of picks that I've really sort of stayed with for a long period of time. One of them being the 1.5 Delrin, the ones that Malmsteen uses. I think they're sort of purple ones.
Is that what he used, is he?
Yeah. Well, he's all of his are white, aren't they? But that's what Jason Becker used them, or the 2mm Delrins. Either.
I like the Delrin, and I always, if anything, I was always a little bit at the back of my mind was going, I'm using pink plectrums. Is that the coolest thing ever?
I don't know.
I'm
I
not
think
sure
it's actually
really.
cooler.
Maybe now it is. Yeah, it's just like even cooler.
So comfortable with your masculinity that you can actually use a pink pick.
But it's a really comfy, springy, nice pick, isn't it? The Delrin. But anyway, sorry.
Well, it's got a nice glide to it, and I think that was probably the first real taste of like what it is that I like in a pick. The only thing I don't like about that is when you get hot and sweaty, it starts to slide. And
yeah, they're super glossy, aren't they? Like?
Yeah. So how did this happen? Yeah, so I think one day I just had one of these lying around. It was like a Jazz Tone 2. I think I got it as like a pack of like loads of different ones. And I think, you get desperate, don't you? And you buy things that you don't know whether you're going to like or not, just as a... Because I always knew that the thing that I would like would be the thing that not everyone else likes or had even considered to like. Because most people play like Jazz 3s and stuff, and for me that has never been a good pick.
Can I have a look at the...
Because
they're too small, the Jazz 3 for
then
me,
it's nylon, and then you got...
Oh, it's got a little blue tinge to it as well.
If you hold it up to the light.
Ah, sexy plectrums. I thought it was black, but it's not.
No,
it is.
No.
It's black if you like in no light, and then it's blue.
Yeah, it's like a jewel. Anyway, they didn't start off that way because it's made out of Ultex, so it was sort of yellow. But I mean, I'll try and condense this story right down.
It's nice.
I played these.
Got any spare ones?
I have. I brought some pick tins to give out.
Yay!
Got these ones. So I was using this for a couple of years in Sacred Mother Tongue, but I think ultimately the problem for me with like the picks and stuff is that I was constantly going from that band which is in drop C sharp and then playing in standard tuning and having a pick that would work in either scenario, and it kind of never would, so it would always screw me up as to sort of, that doesn't feel right, but it feels good with that. So you're always like going for 2 or 3 different picks that seem to work for different guitars, different setups. It just drives you nuts. Like if I was playing 7-string with this is 9 to 52 gauge, and I'd been playing that all my life with the same pick, then I probably wouldn't have that problem, but there's just so many changes to try and keep up with. I had this pick, I really liked it, I used it for a couple of years, but the only thing I didn't like about it was that it was made out of polycarbonate, and when you sort of like touch the string you get like a pinch, and it'd just be too much, especially for like recording and stuff. You constantly be trying to dial it out. So I just kind of stopped using it and started moving through like loads of other different picks. Now this is like the 4th signature pick that Dunlop have made for me personally, but the first one that's actually going to make it to market, because I keep changing my mind all the time. I think Chris just said to me, he's like, right, this is the last time we're going to do it. This is it. After
if you don't like this one,
we're cutting you off.
Yeah, we'll send you a pack of pink Delrin picks and that's it, sling your hook.
Yeah, so I was like, look, because it costs a lot to print, because they have to do them in bulk as well, and it's not cheap for them to just do a run of like these random picks for some
totally
random guitar player from the UK, right? So yeah, I had this. I was like, right, I think I might have found the pick that I want, because I went back to the polycarbonate, it's probably a couple of years ago, and tried it, and I fell in love with it again. But again, I had the same problem with the material. So
as a little experiment here, do you think you could go back to just using like a normal, ordinary, like regular plasticky pick?
I don't know, I'll have a go.
Let's have a look. Wow. And with the Andy James pick?
Do you want this back?
Well,
or?
I don't know if probably not now. Let's have a look. Well, there we go. Stick to that plectrum, man, I tell you. That only took half an hour to shoot that. So, okay, look. That's been fun. I will, thanks again for coming by. Are you still Norwich Way? Are you now, or where are you now?
I live in sort of Midlands area.
Oh wow! So Farrell, thanks for coming. Bit of a trek to come down as well. Then.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
So
like an hour.
Appreciate that. I'll put some links in the description below where you can go and find out about Andy. There's still, as well as his live music stuff, there's still lots of tuition stuff out there, studio music, and of course his plectrum, which you can probably buy on the Andertons website, I suspect. But anyway, so I'll put some links to everything in there. But man, thank you so much for coming down.
Thanks
Good luck with everything this year.
Cheers.
Hope the album goes down really, really well.
So do I.
Yes, and I'm sure I'll see you at NAMM or something next year. But
Cool.
It's all cool. All right.
Nice one.
Bye guys, thanks for watching. Cheers. Hey everybody, thanks for watching the Andertons Guitar YouTube channel. If you're a drummer or a keyboard player or interested in music technology, you might find one of our other channels interesting, and I'll put details of those in the description below. If you want to find out more about the products we've just featured, please click here. If you'd like to buy a t-shirt like this, please click here. If you want to watch another video on our guitar channel, click down here. And to subscribe to our guitar channel, click here. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.